Welcome in to another late night edition of Betting the Pitch. Your host, _G Warner, on Twitter, Instagram, and Patreon. Thank you for support wherever you're listening, watching, reading. I don't think that's possible, but maybe it is. Going to go through the midweek matches. We got a lot before La Navidad for Christmas, and we'll start with the Carabao Cup, then go through La Liga, has a full slate, Coppa Italia, which has only two matches, and then the German Bundesliga. So we'll do an ultimate best bet end of show, and hopefully we can keep the momentum going. Because I believe I won my last one. I don't know. I don't want to do more counting live on screen. But if you're watching on YouTube, please subscribe for an Apple Podcast or on Spotify. Leave a 5-star review, and I'll check. And if there's something on there new, it will be read either by me or one of my other co-hosts that do the NFL, college basketball as well. The Need for Seeds podcast with Biggie Spen. And we'll get all into that shortly. But we'll start in England, and it's a quarterfinals of the Carabao Cup, which I think at this point everyone's probably going for this and trying to win it, as opposed to being more worried about the fixture pileup that's coming. I don't know necessarily if I mean, it's really hard to guarantee lineups in these competitions, and they're also, I think, lines are going to move significantly. But we'll go. We have, as of 11:40 Central Time, Dallas, Texas, on Monday, December 18th. So it's early hours if you're watching in Europe, but at least we're getting these out before game day or match day, all that sort of stuff. So we'll start with Port Vale hosting, which I might be pronouncing wrong, hosting Middlesbrough, which I might be pronouncing wrong, but I think I've learned that. Port Vale currently a half a goal underdog at home, while the juice on Middlesbrough over under is 2 3/4, juice all the way to over. Most of the time, cup matches play a lot tighter than I think you'd expect in the domestic leagues, but what a great draw for both of these clubs to miss all the Premier League teams, and I think there's only two in the quarterfinals that are not Premier League level. So good for them. Middlesbrough was, I think, around in this competition last season, and honestly have been kind of poking around, potentially making a Champions League run, maybe getting into the playoffs and things like that. I don't know much about Port Vale, so I'm going to leave that behind and just go straight to Premier League sides. So Everton hosts Fulham. Everton currently half a goal favorite. All the juice on Fulham on the road. Over unders 2.5, juiced all the way to over. So Fulham were on a great goal scoring streak, and then their very hot striker Raul Jimenez, who I don't think I've been able to call him a hot striker ever, because he's never been able to score goals efficiently. Well, he was on a rampage, just scoring left and right. No matter what he did, it was going in the net. And then he decided to play a little defense. First, I can't explain other than a forward. I have no idea how to tackle. Decided to jump in the air, launched at some guy, and he collided his hip into some guy's head at Newcastle. 23rd minute, the English Premier League halftime show was like, no way is that a red. Well, red card. So then Fulham had to play like the longest stoppage time in the first half, and then the rest of the match with 10 men. Newcastle, who needed that more than anything, ended up finding 3 goals off of deflection, and what was the other one? So we had Miley. It was kicked off. The defender kicked it off the guy that was dribbling's leg right into his path. Goal one. Dan Burn got one that was saved off his leg and into the goal, like a quad goal, basically. And then the other goal was Almiron, which I think was another. So, like, very fortunate goals. That certainly happens for Newcastle at home, but I don't know that I would necessarily downgrade Fulham's defense, though it has not been good lately. They've been scoring a ton, they've been giving up a ton. Now they go to Everton, and Everton, after a weird kind of emotional match with Sean Dyche, good thing he's not playing. But I imagine that they put a lot into that effort at Burnley, because considering they sacked him just a couple of years ago as they're headed down to Championship, came back, and now they have a manager everyone wants to have. But Everton, it's a different scenario here. They're half a goal favorite at home. The crowd should be great. They probably still hate the Premier League, probably will forever hate the Premier League, and actually has probably taken some heat off their ownership. So now they can want to, I guess, hold up signs to sack the Premier League as opposed to sack the board. But the questions for me are from a Fulham perspective. I still consider them a defensive side. That's what they've been under Marco Silva really ever since Mitrovic got suspended for making contact with an official last season in the Cup. I don't know that he really was ever back in this league. Maybe that's why he decided to take the money and go to Al Nassr or wherever he went in Saudi Arabia. And from I guess from that perspective, the juice is climbing to over on this one. I like under 2.5. I think cup matches, certainly end of matches, you'll see goalies pulled, empty net type goals, but it doesn't happen too often. It's certainly a possibility you have to be aware of. But at 1-1, that's not happening. At 2-0, it's probably less likely to occur anyway. Only really if there's a one goal difference. And so if it's 1-0, you end up getting a 2-0 victory for whoever was pulling their goalkeeper. Not a terrible situation, and it was probably going to be a win that way. So I think in this case, Fulham, I don't know that I'm so worried about Jimenez. I imagine he's suspended for the cup. I don't know if it counts, but I think I'm less interested in backing Fulham because I don't think that they're going to score a ton of goals. I think they kind of got screwed this weekend, but the Everton offense has not been ideal. They're dealing with a ton of injuries themselves, and I think that'll only make them be, if they're continuing to miss defensive players that they need, I think they'll only be more conservative in their attack. So under 2.5, I'll pick for that matchup. Chelsea then hosts Newcastle. Currently, Chelsea a half a goal favorite with all the juice. Over under is 2.5, and is juiced all the way to over. So another situation, I guess not very different with the numbers here. Newcastle, a really bad road team. I think we should have Kieran Trippier back because he's only suspended for the Premier League match this weekend. They are a shell of themselves, unfortunately, on the road, or unfortunately for Newcastle fans, all the Toon Army or whatever. The nice thing is Chelsea can't win matches at home. They finally did this weekend because they got the worst club in the Premier League, Sheffield United, to come visit. It still wasn't easy. I feel like their goals were a nice cutback goal, but they could have scored a bunch more, didn't. And really, I think we'll struggle in Newcastle defense that I think sustained another injury with Fabian Schär. I'm not sure he'll come back for a cup match. Probably will be focused on the Premier League matches coming up. But Sven Botman came in, deputized for him or replaced him, and is a very solid defender who I think is a good goal scoring threat. But he's been out of the like match squad for so long. We'll see what ends up changing there, what ends up happening there. But I imagine he starts. I mean, it'd be a little bit weird if he didn't. That would certainly concern me about what the Newcastle defense is going to look like. Dan Burn, as I already mentioned, came back and scored this weekend. So I imagine he's in there. Kieran Trippier should be in there to potentially cause some problems for Chelsea, which the Chelsea defense has not been very good, despite that being their like success story under Thomas Tuchel. They just couldn't score goals. They still can't do that. So looking at under 2.5 for me again in this one as well, I feel like a climb to 2 3/4 would be nice because it would get you a push if it lands 3, at least for half your wager. So that's an important number. So I see no reason to jump in now, but I'm continuing to fade the Chelsea offense like I did with the under this weekend. And I don't really see a reason to get off of it, even though Newcastle has been struggling so much on the road, but it's really because they can't score goals. And so if they concede, then they're pretty much losing. Moving to Wednesday, we have Liverpool hosting West Ham, the last of the quarterfinals. Liverpool, a 1.25 goal favorite. Juices split both ways. Over unders 3.25. Juiced fairly to the under, or a lot to the under. There we go. Liverpool, they got the rest and lost a Europa League match to Union Saint-Gilloise in Belgium, and then West Ham were playing their best team at home, which helps, but their best team against Sportclub Freiburg from Germany to try to win their Europa League group. They did, and then had, of course, both played this weekend. Liverpool in a big derby against Manchester United. That was certainly not the same level of competition like in the past. But I would expect that would probably take a little bit more out of Liverpool than a West Ham match against Wolves at home. So it's nice that West Ham had 2 matches at home. Now they go to Anfield, which is going to be a test. But now my question is what we expect is going to happen in this matchup. Liverpool should be going after it again. They don't really rotate even when they have things locked up. This clearly is not locked up. I'm sure they are pursuing a trophy, though they do have some eyes on the Premier League now with Man City continuing to drop points. I think West Ham are a defensive side that have played very well offensively this year. I imagine that will come back to the mean. The reversion, I think, has already started, but will continue. So they're going to go, I think, and try to defend Liverpool. What that worries me about is that West Ham getting a goal in a quarter, certainly if they're down 1 late, that's pure, perfect danger zone for setting your keeper up. And while it happens in domestic play and league play, I think the cup's even more likely, but it's still a relatively low probability event. So I think I'm more interested in under 3.25 here, but that involves taking under at Liverpool, at Anfield, with Liverpool, who are an offense only team to me at this point. Yes, their matches go under. Yes, it's above 3, which I do like, because I feel like it's just hard to get 4 goals in a lot of matches. You see a lot of 2-1s out there. So I'm getting paid half of a bet right now, or half of what my stake would be on if it does land 3. That does interest me a lot in West Ham going and trying to be defensive, and maybe this match struggling to get that first goal for a while, because the later that first goal comes, the easier it is for the under. And of course, if it never comes, then a goalless draw is my favorite result possible. If you've been tuning in for a while to Betting the Pitch for the real underscores you Warner on Instagram, Twitter, and Patreon, the yawns are back. It is almost midnight here, so give me a break, but hopefully that's not too off-putting while you're listening. So, gone through the 4 quarterfinals, and for my best bet here, I mean, it's tempting to go against Everton and Fulham offenses because I don't really believe in them. Chelsea and Newcastle's, though, they certainly have more money spent on their rosters. But ultimately, I think that one is potentially going to see 2 3/4, or it looks more likely based on the juice right now. I got to take 2.5 because I'm only going with live lines that we have in front of us. So we'll do that. And I'll go with that Newcastle under 2.5. Because I think their defense is going to start playing better on the road, and I still don't really see them scoring much. Now I'll move to Spain, and of course I'll sum these up all at the end for the ultimate best bet. If you're not a member of betonline.ag or sportsbetting.ag, follow the links in the description. You get free money from the casinos. Double your money at sportsbetting.ag. That's a better offer right now. Use the promo code or the promo link in the description. Wherever you're watching, it should be in the description. If it's not and you need something, feel free to slide in my DMs, the real underscore G Warner, on any platform, really. And then if you're already at sportsbetting.ag, it's basically a mirror site to me of Bet Online. You can use both of them at the same time. It seems to work fairly well. You get a free 50%, so half your money deposited, up to $500, I believe. So go do that. It's up to $500, basically $500 match for signing up to sportsbetting.ag. So do that. Now we'll go to Spain. Rayo Vallecano, they host Valencia. Currently Rayo a quarter goal favorite at home with more of the juice, over under 2.25, juice all the way to under. So it's a little bit weird to me to see unders being priced like this with Valencia, because they're really not a defensive side and they've been suffering with suspensions. Gabriel Paulista missed this weekend against Barcelona, but it didn't really matter. They got a 1-1 draw, so good enough for them at home. They probably wanted more, but I think anytime you face Barcelona and get a point, that's probably good enough for you, no matter where it is. Played on Mars, in the Camp Nou, wherever the new stadium is, on the Olympic Stadium, or at home at Mestalla. But now they go to Madrid. Potential letdown, I guess, from a home match against the biggest club in your country, arguably, other than Real Madrid or Atleti. I guess would probably be mad at me for saying that too. Regardless, whatever. That's what I'll say. It's late, so I'll move on. Rayo, they're going to play their token game, the Iraola special, even though their new manager is not anywhere near the same capability or quality. They're going to sit deep. They're going to try to counter. Valencia, I think, are naive enough. They're a lot of young talent, but I do think that they're going to be naive. And I was worried and didn't play under and on top of Valencia as a side this weekend, because I was worried about potentially being a shootout with Barca. I think this is going to be a low scoring match, so I do have some interest in under 2.25. It's very juicy at the moment. La Liga totals, they are making you bet the lowest numbers possible. It's pretty much the NFL. If you're an American sports follower, watcher, better, or anything like that, they're basically making you pay for it if you go under. I don't know necessarily. This probably looks like it's going to hit 2 by the time we get to kickoff. And a lot of times that 2 gets bet as well, because it's a nice number to push on, I guess, if you're not expecting a lot of goals. I think Valencia's offense is better, and they're probably going to have a lot of the ball. So I'm interested in the quarter of a goal they're getting, especially because I don't think I made them an underdog. And 2.25, it feels like a value number to grab right now if you want it. Atletico Madrid then hosts Getafe, currently Atleti, a 1.25 goal favorite, coming off a pretty poor performance in San Mamés in Bilbao. Over under is 2.5 here, juiced under. Getafe played really well at Sevilla, but pretty much anyone is better than them at this point, than Sevilla, that is. Getafe did get that late goal to kill my side and underplay. I did have some plus money on the side, so I guess I made like $12 on the game or something like that. But could have been. It was a pretty big swing, unfortunately. Not great. But Atleti, a goal and a quarter favorite. It says a lot, but they've been so awesome at home. You could probably understand them not playing great on the road at Athletic Club, because They had made sure that they won their Champions League group and had a big match with Lazio, which they controlled in midweek. Now they go again, pretty quick turnaround. The Tafe, though, not used to those turnarounds. And this is a situation, unfortunately, the smaller clubs that aren't used to playing twice in a week, this is a big, big challenge for them. I think that's going to make it harder on Hitafe. I do like under 2.5. Hitafe has been scoring goals, but that seems like something that can dry very quickly. My biggest question is how they keep Atletico Madrid outside of their goal. Hitafe, unfortunately, are really good at picking up red cards. It happens a lot with their physical style of play. Atleti are similar and probably could fall into some fighting type of traps, but ultimately, we don't want 10 on 10 because that is way worse for the under than you'd actually think. 11 versus 10 is bad and it's probably worse than 10 versus 10, but you want as many people on the pitch as long as possible. And it's not a great feeling I have for this one, but I lean under 2.5 if I had to pick something in this matchup. I just don't think, even though Hetafe played so well and they're getting more than a goal, I think Atleti can make this and should be motivated to make this a lopsided match on Tuesday, I believe. Yes, these are all Tuesday. Recording this Monday night. So Granada then hosts Sevilla. It looks like the nightcap on Tuesday. Granada currently a pick'em. More juice on the Sevilla side, barely over unders 2.5, juice to under. I see no reason to get off the Sevilla under train. They don't have an offense. Their defense is problematic, but Granada, under the new manager, seem a lot more pragmatic. They have to be a lot more defensive, conservative at least. Their last manager was about as aggressive as you can be. And it can work for some really good teams, but I just don't think he's had enough success to get those type of jobs. Granada going to have, I'm sure, a huge crowd fan base last match at home before the break for Christmas or whatever holiday break. I'm not sure what they call it. Catholic Nation, probably just the Christmas break, whatever. But I just don't see Sevilla changing their tune or all of a sudden becoming competent offensively. And even if they do win this match, do they get to 3 goals? Probably not. Do they get 2? Then can they keep a clean sheet on Granada? I mean, there's all possibilities. Goalless, I think, is reasonable here. 2.5 seems way too high, and I think takes into consideration Granada's previous defense, which was not very good. I think they took a red card this weekend against Celta de Vigo, if I remember correctly. Maybe no, Celta did, I guess, with Iago Aspas. So, but still, I think ended a 1-0 match. So I don't see goals happening in this one. So under 2.5 is my interest, and I like the home dog at the moment. If they climb to actually getting a quarter of a goal, then I start thinking, do I want to play the worst team in La Liga against, or I guess one of the relegation sides against another one, though, that's also in that discussion. Moving to Wednesday, we have Barcelona hosting Almeria. Currently, Barca a 2.5 goal favorite, which is gigantic considering how they've been playing, but Almeria, worst club in La Liga. Over-under is 4, gigantic. Juice very heavily to under. It's a really nice number to push on. And I got to say, I don't think I want much to do with Almeria getting 2.5 goals. I think they've been a lot more defensive with their new manager, and I think they will be here. Under 4 looks really gigantic for this league. I mean, there's many, many matches that have been lined at the close, 1 3/4 as the total, or 2 for doubling that with a Barcelona team that have not been good or efficient offensively. Doesn't make a lot of sense to me. Almeria are going to be exhausted probably, but Barcelona also weaker at this new fake home site that they're doing while the Camp Nou is renovated. So, man, under 4 looks really high, and for that reason, I like under more than 2.5 goals on their side. 3-0 Barca, I think, would be fine for everyone, and that covers by a full goal. Athletic Club then hosts Las Palmas, currently Athletic Club, a 1.5 goal favorite at home with more of the juice. Over there's 2 3/4, juiced all the way to under. So gigantic total for Las Palmas. They are going to possess the ball. Athletic Club, they really want to counterattack. They let Atletico Madrid have a lot of the ball, and it played right into their hands last weekend. Las Palmas are going to have to play on shorter rest, but so is Athletic Club, because they have not been in Europe this year either. So I think that levels the playing field a little bit. Las Palmas to me are always going to be competitive, just the way their style is. They're not as talented as Barcelona, but they want the ball, they want to control it, and they're really good at keeping it out of their opponent's hands. The problem here is that Athletic Club don't want the ball, so this is a pretty much perfect matchup. Both teams get the style they want to. And that could mean some more chances on goal because they're playing how they want to. But ultimately, Las Palmas are really clever and creative about keeping the ball away from their opponent. And I think being careful to not get counterattacked, or else they wouldn't be where they sit in the La Liga table right now. So I like Las Palmas getting a goal in a quarter. I think I like under 2 3/4. There's a lot more safety there. I don't know that Las Palmas finished well enough, and this one 2-0 victory will get you an under. So I think I might like that even better. Last but not least, on Wednesday, Villarreal hosting Celta de Vigo. Currently, Villarreal a quarter goal favorite at home with all the juice on Celta Vigo on the road. Over under is 2.5, juice to the over slightly. Villarreal, they've been playing more defensively under a new manager, the third of the season. Marcelino has gotten some good results, similar to their manager from last season that was getting results, that ended up getting sacked this season early. I'm not sure I'm a believer in it yet. Solid Vigo have been getting a ton of respect from the marketplace, and I keep looking to back them as an underdog, but they haven't been an underdog lately. They've been like bigger favorites than I would expect in most places. I still don't trust them to score. Iago Aspas, I think, is suspended after a red card, unless that got rescinded during the week, or it's really quick turnaround for it to get rescinded, and I haven't heard that yet. So I'll assume that he's not there. He hasn't been starting all their matches lately, so maybe that's a good thing for Celta de Vigo, but I still think he's the most potent scorer on that team. So under looks best to me. Under 2.5 seems gigantic. Again, I feel like we're not reflecting the manager changes in this league, but if that's going to continue that way, I'm going to keep doing that. I think a quarter of a goal without Aspas is too low for me, but that's the I guess I only want the underdog, as anyone who listens to this podcast knows. But I think I'm more interested in under 2.5, which again feels large. I mean, maybe it seems like there's a lot of La Liga market pricing in a lot of really poor defending midweek, but I think that also going to impact the attacks as well. Cadiz then hosts Real Sociedad on Thursday. Cadiz a half a goal underdog at home. All the juice on Real Sociedad on the road. Over under is 2.25, and is juice to the under slightly. Cadiz, they're a good home team. They've stayed in the league for multiple years despite no expectation to do so because their home team has been, or their home form has been great. Real Sociedad are one of the best up and coming. You can even, I think, credit Bayer Leverkusen from Xavi Alonso being one of their youth team coaches and playing a similar way. It works seemingly everywhere they go. The big question I have at Real Sociedad is when they control games, how they find the back of the net. It struggles, or they struggle with it. They don't score very efficiently, and Cadiz are going to really test and try to make sure that they don't get into their net because they know that Cadiz are at home. They're more likely to score, but they know still that they can't get in shootouts. So for that reason, I like under 2.25 here more than I think I like the home dog. I think I want more from this price. It looks like it's potentially going to hit 3/4 of a goal, but Real Sociedad are so much better than Cadiz that they should win this match. But they've had some really slow, low-scoring matches on the road. It's generally when they don't win, they rarely lose, but it seems to be they draw because they don't score enough. So I like that under 2.25. Next we'll go to Real Betis hosting Girona. Currently Betis a pick'em with all the juice on Girona on the road. Over under is 2.75. Juice a little bit to under. I think Real Betis, they haven't been scoring other than a match against Rangers in Europa League, which I think they fell down to the Europa Conference League. Very disappointing, but that reflects the problems that Real Betis have had this whole season. They haven't been scoring goals. Girona come in high flying, way above them in the table, which I don't think anyone expected coming into the season. But Girona have deserved it, and they're not really an under team. But the nice part for me is they're going on the road where I think it's going to be a lot harder for them. And they're only a pick 'em when I was expecting them to be a slight favorite, just based on form rather than like the esteem or prestige of the club. I guess for that reason, I lean to Girona a little bit at Pick'em, but I'm probably not touching that until they're an underdog on the road. So my bigger interest here, surprise, surprise, another under. I like the Real Betis under 2.75. Girona are an all-out attacking team, though. They defend by attacking, so it's going to really test how much Real Betis wants to defend and really how much they can score. Alaves then hosts Real Madrid. Currently, Alaves a one-goal underdog at home, which feels a little short to me. Barely, but a little bit more juice on the Alaves side as well. Over under is 2.75. Juice a little bit to under. Real Madrid, they had a huge total this weekend with Villarreal. I think it closed 3.5, gigantic number. Now they're 2.75 on the road at Alaves. I guess that is a commentary on Alaves' scoring, but Alaves only a one-goal underdog at home. I thought they might be bigger than this. So Alaves has been playing really well. Their issue is they can't score efficiently. They get a lot of chances, especially if they're young striker that they loaned from Atletico Madrid after he scored against Granada, if I remember correctly. And maybe that's why Granada have completely collapsed this year and are fighting relegation. But Alaves have been doing really well. They have a huge crowd behind them, especially for Real Madrid in town. That should be awesome. I think I'm waiting to see this hit 3 because Real Madrid, I'm just trying not to play unders. I don't really believe in their offense, but they've certainly been teaching me a few lessons this year. I do like the respect that the marketplace is giving Alaves, so I'll put under 2 and 3/4 on my list, but I think I want a little bit more than that. And last match on the list before we move to Coppa Italia briefly is the Mallorca hosting Osasuna. Currently, Mallorca a quarter goal favorite at home with all the juice on Osasuna. Over under is 2, juice very heavily to under 2. Um, and that's the way I lean. Osasuna have really they what a weird club to describe. They have not been able to score goals for a long time now. Their manager's awesome and really took advantage of a height discrepancy between them and Rayo Vallecano to win a match last weekend on a late header. Or maybe it was to draw. They got some result late, I think, based on just saying, "Hey, our guys are taller than their like 5'5" fullbacks," and it worked really well. Mallorca is going to be very different. They're going to play defensive even at home, though they do get a lot more points at home. You could probably say that crowd or travel or referee impacts, probably all of the above. The biggest question here is how are goals going to be scored? I don't really see a way. So getting a push on 2 is important. I think this could end goalless. I think either of these teams would get a goal, which I guess would push me to be interested in Osasuna, but I just haven't seen enough from them to trust them as a side where if they lose one, if they give up a goal, concede a goal, I'm not sure that they can tie. Unfortunately, that's just, I guess, how I feel about them at this point. But in terms of best bets, I think I'm going to go. I mean, there's a fair amount of choices. I do like a lot of unders. Surprise, surprise. I think the Sevilla Granada under is very interesting just because I don't really know how Sevilla matches continue. Like they don't really go over ever unless there's some crazy thing where they're pushing up, like in the Europa League, they needed a win, or in the Champions League, they needed a win to clinch a Europa League berth. So they're going for it. Had a late turnover and had one man back to defend. That's one way it went over, but there are also 2 penalties in the second half. So don't see a lot of goals in those matches. Don't see a lot of goals across Spain in general. Um, I think I'll go that Celta de Vigo under though, because I don't really see how Celta are getting a lot of respect, and I think Villarreal continue to get overpriced. 2.5 it's just gigantic. Granada, I mean, Granada's interesting too. I like that. I guess there's not much more I can say other than I like both of those. I like a lot of unders in Spain. Hopefully, it's a lot of boring matches in this midweek. Moving now to the Coppa Italia in Italy. So we have Napoli hosting Frosinone. Basically, I think the top of the table teams that had gotten buys to this round or whatever, they are finally coming in and playing without Champions League to worry about or something midweek. Napoli currently a 1 1/4 goal favorite at home to Frosinone, who are a Serie A club who have been fairly competitive. I think this season over under is 3, just a little bit to over. Napoli, they started the season out really just, I mean, they basically were the best team in Europe for half of last season of 2022. Calendar hit 2023. They got a lot of injuries, and then their manager weirdly just quit and now is managing the Italian national team because there's a crisis there. They've brought in a second manager this season who's been a lot more conservative, but has seen a lot more results, probably because Victor Osimhen, their star striker, is healthy and playing. I do wonder how much they're going to use him. If he's not in that lineup, I still am not a huge believer in the Napoli offense. Frosinone are going to try to defend like crazy. My question here, though, is in Coppa Italia, because they're certainly worried about staying in Serie A for another season. What do they do for their lineups? And because I think they're playing this weekend, and it could be one of those where they put in a lot of backups. For that reason, I mean, the 3 as a total feels really high for a Coppa Italia match. I feel like a lot of them have been the 2.5 range. Yes, Napoli's a better club, and there have been weaker ones that we've been playing in the other rounds before this, but ultimately that push on 3 is important, and I think this will be potentially tighter, especially if Osimhen is not starting. We'll see what Frosinone throws out there. So I'll put under 3 there. More interested in under than I think than the side. And generally, if I'm playing unders, I do want to be interested in the road dog as well. Inter Milan then hosts Bologna on Wednesday. Currently, Inter a 1 goal favorite with all the juice. Over unders 2 3/4. Juice very heavily to under. Might see this one fall to 2.5, which is saying something considering Inter's potent offense. But Bologna haven't scored much. I think they're going to be in a very defensive mode, though Inter are really the most. I think they're at their best when they don't have the ball and they're allowed to counterattack you and they have space for Lautaro to sneak in somewhere and find a goal on a counterattack or a breakaway or just some sort of 4-on-4 as opposed to trying to break down an entire defense. I'm not sure what Bologna will do here. Tagamota, their manager, has been pretty aggressive, but I think they've needed to be because they can't score goals. I do feel like this is probably an Inter win, especially at home. I don't know if they got both Inter and Napoli somehow won the draw to get home matches, or if that's just how it goes. But it's a good reason probably why those big clubs seem to always be in the Coppa Italia final for what it is. Um, I think my interest here, not so much in Bologna either. It's more to under 2 3/4. It's very juiced at the moment, but I do feel like that's probably my bigger interest. It's kind of a bet against the Bologna offense, and maybe that Inter Milan will make this easy and try to get out of there quickly and not get anybody hurt and save everybody as we enter the Christmas period. For my best bet from the Coppa Italia from those two matches, not a lot of choices, but I'm going to go with that Frosinone under three. I like that push on three. Last but not least, we go to the German Bundesliga. Then I'll sum it up an ultimate best bet, get it on the various platforms. So if you're on YouTube, hit subscribe. It should be there shortly. If you're on Apple Podcast, that takes a little bit longer, but should be out there. If you're not subscribed, go do it. If you're not leaving me a 5-star review, it'd be huge. Get me up to search rankings because ultimately, the more hits, impressions I get, the probably better I feel about staying up super late at night and doing these. So same goes for Spotify as well, because I think their ad platform seems to be a little bit more interesting for me moving forward. But we'll move to the Bundesliga. We'll start with Werder Bremen. They're 1-goal underdog at home to RB Leipzig. It's a Tuesday match. Over under is 3 1/4, and it's just to under a little bit. Werder Bremen got a good result on the road Friday night. Now have a pretty big rest advantage as Leipzig played in the Topspiel on Saturday evening. Emotional event with Emil Forsberg's last match for RB Leipzig before he moves to RB New York, I think, or whatever Red Bulls in the US is. Clearly, I don't pay attention to MLS, but anyway, Leipzig have not been a good road team this year. The nice part is they get a really bad team in general, but Werder Bremen have been better at home. So those are things I think all point in the Werder Bremen direction. Under 3 1/4 seems interesting because the Leipzig offense is worse on the road. I think I'm going to put the +1 on my list, though I'm probably not. I'm going to try my best to avoid it, but I think it's hard to look past Leipzig. I mean, they got a good win, went over this weekend. I'm glad I laid off my under and TSG Hoffenheim leans, but it really wasn't that impressive. They gave up a goal that they really shouldn't have. You could argue it was bad refereeing, but little things like that have happened. I think it's kept Leipzig out of the title run, certainly not out of the Champions League race, but that seems to be more of a race for the top 4 spots than ever. We'll see how that goes. And this is one of the big spots where Leipzig have struggled basically whenever they're outside of the Red Bull Arena. Moving next to Borussia Dortmund hosting Mainz 05. Currently Dortmund a 1-goal favorite at home, a little bit more juice. Over is 3 1/4, a little bit more juice the under there. Now Dortmund, they're really struggling. I think the chirps about potentially Edin Terzic just should not be the manager are getting louder. He'll probably move into an administrative role or whatever, some sort of sporting director type of role at Dortmund. When they bring in a new manager, who knows when that happens? And they did so well in Champions League, maybe that will be enough to keep him in a job. But anyway, Mainz, they have not been scoring goals. It's really been unfortunate. Took a bad loss this weekend. Also controlled the Freiburg match the week before that. So the results are not there, but the performances are. So I'm tempted to kind of back them here, playing a tight match with Dortmund, despite fighting the Schwarz-Gelben and the yellow wall and all that. 80,000 biggest stadium in all of soccer stadium in all of Europe, as far as I know. But the total is above 3. So, I mean, Dortmund have been playing very conservative defensive games for a while now. They're probably going to have more of the ball here, but I don't really trust Dortmund to do anything offensively. They were behind Augsburg, maybe some bad refereeing there as well. But I don't think Dortmund can do enough to carry this total over themselves. So give me that under 3 1/4. And I do like the +1. It does feel like Mainz are getting some respect here, but I think it's definitely one of those numbers I want to see continuing to climb. And I probably did not make it only just +1 when I was making this. Yeah, I was thinking more. I was thinking closer to 1 1/4. So there's certainly the German market does respect Mainz, and I don't blame them because there are a lot of warts on Dortmund at this moment. TSG Hoffenheim then hosts SV Darmstadt. Currently, Hoffenheim a 1 1/4 goal favorite to the bottom team in the Bundesliga. A little bit more juice on Darmstadt actually is interesting. Over under 3 1/4, juiced very heavily to under, probably falls to 3. Hoffenheim have been a bad home team. They have no home field advantage, really. That's probably why. And they've just been fortunate. They're a good side. They have some talented players and got some good. They've certainly playing some hard teams at home, I think. You could also say that for Borussia Mönchengladbach as well. But Darmstadt are one of the worst teams in the league, and they're going to go in. They're going to try to defend here. I don't think Darmstadt, I mean, they get no any sort of attack from their front line. Their goals really just come from fortunate seams or set pieces is their best way. Hoffenheim on the other side are probably going to have a lot of the ball. They always play with three center backs and will probably use those to try to keep quiet a Darmstadt side that really won't create much. For that reason, any total above three, I'm interested in, especially because it's a way I can kind of bet against Hoffenheim's performances because I still look to be against them at home. So under 3.25 is interesting there. Moving to Wednesday, Union Berlin, they host Köln. And currently Union a half a goal favorite at home, more almost all the juice on Cologne on the road. Over unders 2.5, juice very heavily to under. Union, they gave up a late goal to lose 3-0, killed my under. It was brutal this weekend, but they're a team that really have no offense. They don't really set up to play offense either. And FC Cologne, they can't score. So this could really, if there's ever a Bundesliga match that could go goalless, this one might be it. Certainly, it does feel a little bit difficult going to Alten Försterei and kind of fading the Union Berlin offense. But I mean, I don't think they get 3 goals. I don't think they get two. But even if they did, that would require cold scoring. And they, I think, have 10 goals in 16 matches or something like that so far this season. So for my interest here, I'll go. I don't think I want Cologne much here, but I do like the under 2.5. Next, we'll go to Heidenheim, hosting Sports Club Freiburg. Currently, Heidenheim a quarter goal favorite, or excuse me, quarter goal underdog at home. Favorite is the juice, all the juice right now in Heidenheim. Might fall to pick them soon, and that would interest me in Freiburg, who have been getting a ton of results, maybe not based on dominant play. Over unders 2.75 here, juice the under. Freiburg have been a great under team in the Bundesliga, one of the only ones. I see no reason to get off of that. Heidenheim are certainly going to play a more open game, but I think Freiburg are going to use their physicality and try to be a little bit brutal to a newly promoted side that are certainly not familiar with the Bundesliga. I mean, yes, they are this season, but they're probably not. I remember Tyler Adams used to play for Red Bull Leipzig, U.S. international, who basically said, yeah, you have no idea what's coming until you face Freiburg. They're so physical. And that's what they are. I think that's why they beat teams because they beat them up. Heidenheim are great on set pieces. That's one potential drawback to Freiburg if they get called for fouls, but they're usually pretty good about it. And I feel like their manager gets a fair amount of respect, so they don't get a lot of those calls. As a home underdog, I'm interested in Heidenheim, but I don't know that I really like them enough. So I'm more interested in that under 2.75. Next, go to Bayer Leverkusen hosting VfL Bochum. Currently, Leverkusen a 2-goal favorite at home with more juice over under 3.5, juice the under. Now, this is one I just don't think I'm interested in getting involved in fading Bayer Leverkusen at this point with a bad team like Bochum or at least a low budget team. They're really good at home and they get a ton of results. But this is has potential to get ugly. I think under 3.5 is probably my bigger interest here, but I'm not sure I really even want to do that because I think Leverkusen can name their price here. They can score a bunch of goals. They deserved a lot more against Eintracht Frankfurt this weekend. Certainly got some good fortune, but should have a ton of control of this game. And Bochum's road defense has been really bad for years now. Eintracht Frankfurt then hosts Borussia Mönchengladbach. Currently, Frankfurt a half a goal favorite at home with all the juice. Over unders 3, juice all the way to under. So there's some, I guess, statements being made that there's a lot of respect for Frankfurt. They've been all over the place. Beating Bayern really just kind of ended a really bad streak and only to start a new one. Gladbach have been overperforming, really been great at home, not very good on the roads. That doesn't fit this kind of scenario very well. But that's the way I lean just because I feel like being against Frankfurt at this point is a reasonable suspension or just something that might be a reasonable bet. I don't know. I mean, a half of a goal, if they draw, that's nice, but I was probably hoping for a little bit more. Under 3, I'm interested in as well, just because I don't really believe the Frankfurt offense has been solved. It was really bad to start the season, and then they found a purple patch, as they'd say, or they started to do well, but I'm not sure that's like a long-standing thing. And they've been not really playing well across the board lately, so there would be some way to potentially diversify your risk if you play a half of a goal on Gladbach on the road plus under 3, though that is 2 sober bets, so you're kind of going all in that Frankfurt continue to struggle. Next, we go to Stuttgart hosting Augsburg. Currently, Stuttgart a 1.5 goal favorite at home. All the juice on Augsburg on the road. Over unders 3.25, juice very heavily to under. Now, this is the first time we've seen Augsburg not getting much respect at all from the marketplace. Stuttgart are great, and we'll see if they can play through the Augsburg press. That's basically going to determine this matchup. I don't expect Augsburg to have much of the ball, so they're probably not going to have many chances on goal. Stuttgart's offense has been great. They're coming off a big match with Bayern Munchen, though, so we'll see how they respond to that one. I think the price just feels very big for Augsburg. They've been playing very well, so I have to put that on my list under excuse me, plus 1.5, and also that under 3.25. Though the Augsburg, I mean, the pressure that they put on really helps their offense. That's kind of where the offense comes from. I guess that could potentially keep a Stuttgart offense quiet because they really just want to be able to play their game. And I think Augsburg will keep them out of it. Above three, I guess I like three under 3.25. Next, go to Wolfsburg hosting Bayern Munchen. Hopefully, this is the last match. I'm falling asleep right here. Wolfsburg, a 1.5 goal underdog at home with more of the juice, over under 3.5, juice all the way to under. So Wolfsburg have been much better at home. They've certainly had some big problems throughout this season, and honestly, got a big win despite having a red card to Maxence Lacroix, which does impact their defense, and it's not a good team to then host. Yes, it's at home. That's helpful. Yes, Bayern have not been as good this season. But that's a danger zone. Having not exactly your ideal lineup against Bayern is a very scary thing. With that said, Bayern have been struggling. Certainly, the place to get Bayern, I think, is on the road. I don't know necessarily. I mean, I don't know that I can play unders with Bayern Munchen unless I have some huge suspicion that they're going to rest players, which I don't think they will. Especially if this is the last match before the winter break, Christmas break, whatever. I think Wolfsburg, the only way I could do this is if I played on that 1.5 goal spread at home. And I do have some interest in that, surely. I just don't know if there's enough there for me. So I think I'll probably wait and see and potentially see some lineup stuff or something as we get closer to it. And that'll do it for the Bundesliga. For my best bet there, I'm going to go FC Köln under 2.5 on Wednesday, early game, early window, early slot. And hopefully that means that less goals for my under. So I think it's time to wrap up and get into the ultimate best bet portion of the show. Thank you for tuning in. If you're on Apple Podcasts or Spotify, leave a 5-star review. It'd be huge for the search rankings. If you're on YouTube, please hit subscribe. I have all my plays coming out on pregame. You can get my leans list each night. Plus, if you're not a member of my Patreon, that's a place you should look into investing. It's a very nominal fee each month. I think most subscribers would say it's very fairly priced. It would probably be the way they put it. And it's the best spot to get all my leans plays nightly, especially considering I'm over 60% in college basketball. It might be higher than that, but I'm a little bit behind on my college basketball watching, trying to prepare for this midweek of matches across the various European soccer leagues. But that's been a great start to that season. Soccer has, I think, had some really good days, certainly some lean ones as well. But I think that's how it goes. You get all my picks across all sports, all loaded up there each night before I go to sleep, which reminds me, it's probably what I do right now when I wait for this thing to upload. But we'll get into that. Patreon.com, so that's a real_G Warner. Check it out. It's a good spot to get all my stuff in one place. And you don't have to wait for me to tweet or listen to hours long of YouTube, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or any of those type of videos. So I guess it's time to do it. This is the real_G Warner. This is Betting the Pitch, and this is a midweek episode of the European Soccer Betting the Pitch form. From the English Carabao Cup, I like the Newcastle under 2.5 goals. In La Liga this week, I like Celta de Vigo under 2.5. In Coppa Italia, I like Frosinone under 3 goals. And in the Bundesliga, I like FC Köln under 2.5. For the ultimate best bet, though, I got to pick one. And it's my favorite one, and it's really one I'll pay to see FC Köln and Union Berlin score 3 goals in this matchup. Maybe it's going to happen. It'll probably take a penalty, and those happen, especially in my unders. But ultimately, these two teams don't score goals. They don't really attack. They both want to defend. Köln want to press high of the pitch. Union Berlin want to sit back deep in their own half. I don't know where 3 goals come from. I think there's a good test for Köln's legs here. But ultimately, I don't think Union Berlin get 3 themselves. So play under 2.5 in that Union Berlin-Köln matchup on Wednesday in the German Bundesliga. And that'll do it for this episode of Betting the Pitch. Thank you for tuning in. Please subscribe, follow, do all sort of things. Leave a 5-star review. That would make me very happy. That could be your Christmas gift for me, considering all the hopefully winners I've given you this season. And go check out my Patreon, patreon.com. So that's a real_G Warner. That'll do it. Have a nice, I should be recording some other stuff across the other various platforms. We'll be doing an NFL episode tomorrow night. Hopefully if my plane lands safely. If not, I guess no one will have to worry about listening to this anymore. And then Wednesday night, we're not doing college basketball on Wednesdays anymore. We're moving it to Friday. So get ready for a weekend smorgasbord there the next time that we record that. And you'll see it on all the platforms, and I'll tweet it and all that sort of stuff as well. So thanks for tuning in, and we'll talk to you very soon.